Welcome to the webinar, Solve the #1 Inhibitor to Sales, Communicating Value. I'm Lisa Cramer, President of SalesTalk Technologies. SalesTalk is a sales execution technology that increases the performance among sellers, coaches, and message creators. And presenting with me today is my good friend Michael Nick. Michael, over to you.
Thanks, Lisa. I just want to mention that I'm the founder of ROI4Sales. We're a company that designs and develops sales tools like ROI, TCO, risk assessments, 360 ROI tools, and things like that. I'm also a best-selling author. I have 3 books published. My latest is an Amazon Top 10 called The Key to the C-Suite, and just this last year I was named one of the top 50 most influential sales people in the world by Top Sales World magazine. Lisa?
Thanks, Michael. All right. So today, in today's webinar, we're going to Michael's going to go through building one of his value inventories so we can learn how to build and extract value by putting ourselves in the mind of our customer. And then we're going to actually use the content from the value inventory to create discovery questions as well as value propositions and objection handling that we're going to actually use in the mock sales call. So we'll have an interactive sales call, and then finally we'll wrap things up. We wanted to start today with just a little conversation about some of the stats that we're seeing out there and why this is such a hot item and why we have so many people on this call. And #1 in the serious decisions, #1 inhibitor to sales, achieving their quota is the inability to communicate value. And Aberdeen has a similar where 53% of the companies, 53% of us, are striving to create that unique story and that competitive differentiation. And I think Michael and I are both, and you can jump in here, Michael, we're certainly finding this as we're talking to more and more companies that it's become much more difficult to create that value and to understand that value and communicate that value because the sale is getting more complex and the buyer is much more educated, right, than they were. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, they definitely are more educated, but we have to blame that on Al Gore because of, he invented the Internet. That's really the reason. I agree with you, and we've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people over the last year and a half when this has really become more and more prevalent. I think that it's critical to ensure that your sales staff is aligned with the organization's value message. Now, that goes a little beyond it's harder and harder to prove your value. I think once the organization determines what the value message is going to be, the sales force needs to be aligned with it. And I see too often that a sales force is promoting what they perceive as the value and not what the organization has outlined. The one thing you can be sure of is that you're going to be far more successful if management all the way down to the bottom of the rung is still promoting the very same message. Everybody stays on their value message. So that value message has to be articulated by everyone from the top on down. Companies spend millions of dollars on messaging, and if their sales force isn't promoting that message, it could be a disaster. Lisa?
Right. That's a good point. And if sales is giving feedback and it's not being taken by the marketing side, too, that's not working. So they've got to work together, and I think you're exactly right, consistency and getting the right people in the room. So having said that, why don't you go ahead and jump in and talk about how we can build value.
All right. Well, I'm not big on bullet points, but I've thrown a few bullet points up just to use as talking points for building a value inventory. Now, a value inventory is an exercise that you can do yourself. It's an exercise that we do as an organization in every engagement that we're involved in. And what it does is it brings alignment of the value message to the organization between sales, marketing, and management. In short, it's basically the content builder. It builds the content of your value, and your value, just what it is. It's an inventory of your value. It'll drive your go-to-market strategy, and it's also a way of better understanding not only your buyer, which is one of the most important things to be able to communicate value and to communicate in the C-suite, but it also has the reasons that your prospects buy from you, their priorities, your competitive advantages, and the most common objections that you get from your prospects. So let's take a look at a sample value inventory. All right, this is a slice of an actual value inventory for a company that sells project portfolio management. And what that is, fancy name, it's basically project management for an IT department. It's their way of managing all the different projects that they have. Now, this is only showing 5 line items. We generally do this. It takes about a day to complete it, and we generally go between 30 and 50 line items. We basically go until people run out of the reasons to buy. But notice immediately that we start with a persona. So you see the persona is your prospect stakeholder. So they either buy from you or influence the buying process. Now, the next three columns, why buy, business issue, and desired outcome, those capture the issues your prospects are facing that you can affect. And I'm going to go through each of these so you understand why we ask 3 times essentially the same question. And then that's followed by the priority or level of importance. This is real simple. It's how important is this line item to the prospect. That way you can rank all the answers that you get. I mean, it'd be hard to figure out with 40, 45, 50 of these which ones are the most important. So we rank them. And then on the right-hand side, this is your portion of it. We identify competitive advantages. We identify your solution. And we identify what your solution is capable of doing in that you can see, reduce a cost, increase revenue, or avoid a cost. And then the last column is what cost are they reducing or avoiding. So on the next slide, I'd like to show you, I just want to be really clear on what we're doing here. So the U is you, the hundreds. We have well over 500 people that have signed up for this. The middle is our value inventory. So this is the exercise that runs between you and your customers and your prospects. So we're going to find out why they bought from you, what their priorities are, the solutions that you've offered, your competitive advantage, and so forth. So all of this data is collected, and then we turn it into content that's used in this revolutionary new sales tool called SalesTalk. And this is what we're going to demonstrate to you, is how we take this information that I'm collecting, and then we're going to convert it into content that's used on the tool. So let's get started. These are the first 5 columns of the value inventory. The persona defines who you're selling to. I mentioned that a moment ago. But each sale takes on numerous personas. This is that old idea of selling broad and selling deep within an organization. This has to be the stakeholders, not only the buyers, but it also has to be those that influence the decision. So in other words, these are the people you're selling to. The 3 next columns, so why buy? It's all about emotion. What we do is we ask people to put themselves in their customer's shoes. That's the persona. And then we ask, hey, just spitball. Throw as much against the wall as you can think of why people buy products and services like yours or your products. The why buy is then followed by the business issue, pain, or goal. We say business issue up here. But we take this high level of why buy, and then we begin to narrow them down to a problem that we can monetize. You see, the key to this whole exercise is monetizing your value. But to monetize your value, you have to understand there has to be a starting point. And that's where desired outcome is. And starting point means, how do I know I've delivered value unless I measured where you are today? So desired outcome tries to take those high-level ideas and those business issue, pains, and goals and put them all the way down to a metric. And you can see this third one in is, therefore, we want to increase our revenue per employee. Revenue per employee is a metric. It's a starting point. If I sold project management, we could measure your revenue per employee today. We could deliver a solution and then measure it again in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. That's that 360 ROI approach. So the theory here is that we want to know who you're selling to, we want to know why they bought, and then we want to measure where they are today. So finally, the most important column, that priority column. The priority column, or level of importance, it changes its name. Our documentation is a little bit misleading, but it's the same column. But what it does mean is it means how important is this line item to your prospect. And we code it 1, 2, or 3. 1, a level 1 or a priority 1 means this is what keeps the CEO up at night. This is one of those very high level, must be taken care of. A level 2 is on their short-term to-do list. It has to be done in the short term. We're talking 3 months, 6 months, no more. And finally, a 3, if there's a priority 3 typically means, yes, it needs to be done in this calendar year. So when I want to get through my year and I need to get this done. So the first section that you're seeing right here, it's the key to understanding your buyer and aligning your prospect's issues, pains, and goals with your solution. So that brings us to the next slide where we threw up a solution. Now, we just threw in some words here that kind of lined up. We obviously didn't want to give away whose value inventory this is. So these are pretty generic, but you get the idea. What we've done is we've identified who we're talking to, what their reason to buy, business issue, and desired outcome are, their priority, and then a solution. It's the next slide that really matters, though. This one shows the next column, which is competitive edge. So we follow the solution up with an assessment of our competitive position. A 1, as you can see on the COO on the bottom one there, a 1 means that we are superior at delivering this solution to our prospect. A 2, we deliver an equal solution, much like a commodity. So us and our competitors are pretty much the same on what we deliver. And a 3 means that our competition is more is better at delivering a solution than this. So if we were evaluated on just this line item, for example, so nothing else but this line item, would we win, would we tie, or would we lose? That's really what we're trying to do. So that's the left-hand side. Moving to the right-hand side, you can see we've added 2 more columns, category and value metric. The category is our solution resource management features. What does it do? And you have 3 choices. Does it reduce a cost, avoid a cost, or increase revenue? Those are your only 3 choices. We can't talk about profits or margin or anything like that. These have to be measurable so that we can monetize a starting point, that's the desired outcome, and we can deliver and measure again to prove that we've delivered value. So that's the increase revenue or reduce a cost or avoid a cost. And then the value metric is what cost are you reducing, avoiding, or increasing. So let me show you a little bit of analysis here. This is a simple analysis that we perform once we complete a value inventory. The first thing we do is break off the 1-1s. That means 1 priority or level of importance and 1 competitive advantage. 1 being we deliver a superior solution, 1 being the prospect, this is what keeps the CEO up at night. When you find 1-1s, this means that this is it. This is the ultimate content value. This says it's the most important thing to a prospect. We deliver a solution better than anyone else. If it comes in as a 1-2, it's a very high important, keeps me up at night. However, a 2 means our competitor and us are equal in delivering. Now, the reason that becomes more important is because maybe a tweak puts us from a 1-2 to a 1-1. Maybe some investment in something makes us, 2 moves us up to a 1. So it's important to understand what our 1-2s are. More importantly is our 1-3s. 1-3 means 1 being most important to the customer, 3 means we're losing. It's an objection. It's something that a prospect says, can you deliver this? And we have to say, no, we can't. And that's a problem. So you need to come up with a objection mitigation program to cover that. And keep that in mind, because we're going to show you how we do that when we get to Sales Talk. And then there's some other things. We can go to the 2-3s, 2-1s, 2-2s, and so forth. So a completed value inventory looks like this. Now, we showed it to you a moment ago, and the down arrow there shows you that this goes on for about 45 or 50. If you'll pay particular attention to the 3rd line, VP of Sales, this is where they need to reduce customer attrition because they're losing their recurring revenue. You see that's a level of importance 1, and it's a competitive analysis of 3. So this is that 1-3 I was talking about. This is an objection that a prospect will have. Even though we have an inferior deliverable, we still need to create a mitigation plan because it's going to come up if it's a number 1 on the level of importance. So pay particular attention to that. You can see all the different personas here, CFOs, I showed you some COOs, VP of Sales, VP of Service, and so forth. So the personas are influencers. So let me just quickly, in summary, the key to a successful value inventory workshop, it's all about understanding the value, that it's grounded in reality of the prospect versus the theory of the whiteboard. I'll say that one more time. The value inventory is grounded in the reality of the prospect versus the theory of the whiteboard. You need the customer's voice to build valuable content that can be used throughout your sales process. That's the key. Put yourself in your customer's shoes. You're the voice of the customer. It is not unusual to have customers in the room when you go through this exercise. If you have a very good, committed customer of yours, bring them in. They can help you. They can at least give you a reality check. But the voice of the customer is far more important than theory, and that's what this is all about. So the exercise will align your team with the organization's message, and it will give you all those 1-1s, and those are the answers to the, well, you're the answer to the real question of why your prospects buy from you. All right, Lisa, we're going to move on, and we're going to show you how we're going to take this value inventory on the left and create that content and move it right into Sales Talk and take a sales call in a little role play, hey?
Hey, yes, exactly. Thank you, Michael.
All right, let's see what you got.
Excellent. So we're going to set up the sales call here. This is what we've done with the material that you saw in the value inventory. We've extracted the discovery questions from that inventory so that we can lead the discussion and then cover the pain points that really drive to our best value, as best we can. So we want to drive the prospect our way. We also have created value propositions per persona, as Michael pointed out, because we want to make sure we are delivering the right message to the right person at the right time. And then finally, because we've rated one of the items, if you remember Michael pointed out the VP of Sales, we had a number 3 in the competitive column. that means we need to be prepared in case that objection comes our way. So that's what we've done with the content that we created in the value inventory and how it's going to show in Sales Talk when we go through this mock sales call. Okay, so I'm going to set up the sales call here. You know, I'm playing the sales rep, harkening back to my days as an IBM salesperson. And our prospect, Bob Brennan, who will sound eerily like Michael Nick, is the CEO of Financials R Us. I am selling a portfolio project management software, or PPM. And as Michael said, it's basically software that helps companies manage internal resources better. We've already qualified Bob, and so what we're doing in this call is we're going to go into discovery and present our value prop. And my company's name is basically the PPM Co. So that's kind of the setup. Our company, again, my company as a sales rep, we use Salesforce.com as the CRM system, and SalesTalk is the sales execution tool that helps me, you know, be much more effective on my call. So with that, we're going to dive right into the technology. Let's see if we can make sure Salesforce is alive and well here. Okay, so you know, I'm a sales rep. I'm using Salesforce.com. This is where I start my day. On my call list is to reach out to this guy, Bob Brennan from Financials R Us. And within Salesforce is the button for Sales Talk again, because it's a sales execution tool. It's going to help me make my calls and do a better job. So I'm going to click that button and bring Sales Talk up. Okay, what we have so far is we're in what's called the story so far. And so I get to see a couple of things in the story so far. I see Bob's digital behavior. I have, you know, over 50 accounts as a sales rep, and I can't remember, you know, each one without review and research and looking back. So I want to make sure I know what Bob's been doing, and I also kind of help track what I've been doing. Now, Bob was sent actually over to me by the marketing group as a marketing qualified lead, so I can see some of the behaviors. You can see he went to some of the, you know, our website and some of the pages. Particularly, he went and looked at one of our demos, so that's probably why marketing sent him over to me. You also see something called conversational behaviors. These are things or ways that I've interacted with Bob, and it tracks it. So, for instance, I went ahead and did some qualification with Bob, made a quick call and had a brief conversation. I then sent Bob a follow-up thank you. Kind of see if I remember that. By clicking on that, it'll actually bring up the email. Oh, that's right. Not only did I confirm our call today, but it also, I sent Bob a link to our reporting and analytics on our website, because I thought as a CIO that might be something he really likes. And so that's what I did. And as a matter of fact, it tracked that Bob did click on the reporting and analytics link in my email, and that he viewed the page on the website for a good 20 seconds. That's pretty darn good. So that gives me something. I'm going to, you know, just keep that in my mind as I talk to Bob, that analytics is important to him. Okay, so I'm ready to make my call to Bob. And again, it's a discovery call. We've already done the qualification. So let me prep first. There's a couple places I can go ahead and prep. One is I'll click our discovery prep, which is really good. You know, our company has always provided this. It reminds me, no matter how long I've been, you know, selling, that I should do less talking and more listening, and, you know, what we're trying to get out of the discovery process. I've also used the call prep area previously to create some notes. And the notes basically have some information about Financials R Us and a little bit about the company and the financial services industry. So I'm going to remember that when I build my business case and whatever else I want to do with it, which is always going to be good to have information. Okay, so now I'm ready to go ahead and make my call to Bob. Let me go ahead and click my discovery questions. I want to just go ahead and look at them a little bit before I get Bob on the call, okay? Very good. So, ready to make my call? And here we go. Ring the ring.
Really? Ring, ring? We couldn't afford a phone.
That's all I got for you.
All right. This is Bob.
Hey, Bob. It's Lisa with the PPM Co. How are you today?
I'm good. Lisa, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thanks, Bob. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today.
No problem. Looking forward to learning more about what you're doing, what you're offering.
Well, Bob, I appreciate that. And to properly present my solution to you, it would be really helpful if I better understand your organization and challenges that you have with the internal resource allocation. I know we touched on that last call, but if you're okay with it, I'd love to ask you some more questions and just dive right in.
I'd be happy to.
Great, Bob. What percentage of projects are considered low value?
I'd say about 20%.
All right. And then what percentage of projects are underperforming or have cost overruns, would you say?
Probably 15. I'd say 15%.
All righty. Sounds like a good number. What's the average number of hours per week typically spent on creating things like reports and correcting errors and re-entering data, things like that?
Oh, sure. We have a office person that does that. I'd say a full-time 40 for a full-time person.
Okay. And then people that are performing that task, what's the average annual FTE cost of those personnel that perform the tasks that we were just talking about, those activities?
And FTE, do you mean full-time equivalent? So you're talking about their wage plus burden?
Burden, you're right. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so
correct.
Their wage plus a burden. I would say, let's see, about 42,000.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And what's the average number of hours spent per week in things like collaboration meetings?
Well, they meet every morning for a couple of hours, so 10.
10. Okay. So that's sizable. And the number of staff involved in the collaboration meeting? How many would you say?
Sure, it'd be all the project leads, so 4.
4. Okay. And the average annual FTE cost of those personnel?
Oh, they're expensive. They're project leads, so 87, 88,000, somewhere in there.
Yeah, you're right. That is expensive, and not a surprise. Not a surprise at all. All right. So, Bob, thanks so much for answering those questions. It's really helpful, for me to better understand the challenges so that, I can see what kind of fit we might have.
Well, Lisa, now that you've extracted all what you need, I can't wait to see or hear more about your solution. So tell me a little bit about what you got going.
Absolutely, Bob. I'm sure as a COO, you are very concerned about the operations of your entire business. That's your job, right? Especially when it comes to these internal resources and more importantly and specifically those IT resources you were just talking about. They're obviously very expensive resources. So, our company's goal at the PPM Co. is to optimize your constrained internal resources to fuel your success. Our portfolio projects management suite, we help you increase your resource utilization so you're applying those high-cost individuals in your organization to those appropriate projects. And no longer will you have that misalignment of high-cost to low-cost projects. And we help you measure your plans against, as you like, real-time execution and financial data via powerful analytics. And that gives your organization measurements and provides you full market agility.
Lisa, in our management meeting, when I was talking about this, the VP of Sales stepped up and said, what are you doing about losing all that recurring revenue? What are you doing about attrition? So I'm going to pose that question to you. What can you do about our customer attrition to protect our ongoing revenue stream?
Yeah, no, great question, and I appreciate your concern, or more specifically, your VPs of Sales concern about customer attrition. And, certainly, Bob, our CRM module supports your efforts on this. What we find is the greatest and the strongest value from our PPM software is that our customers get to align their resources, especially those high-cost project managers we were talking about before, to the appropriate projects. This is what drives the overall revenue. And as a matter of fact, by aligning these internal resources to the appropriate projects, the PPM code, our customers have seen an increase in revenue by 15% and an increase in revenue per employee by over 22%. Did I help address the concern, Bob?
Well, I think you did, Lisa. I think you did.
Great. Well, I don't want to take up too much more time of your time today, Bob. I really appreciate it. It looks like there's a very good fit between the challenges you have with your internal resource allocation and the solutions that we provide at the PPO Co. So I'd like to propose that we set up a time for us to, for me to present and demonstrate our solution. Does that sound like a good idea?
That sounds like a great idea, Lisa. I can get the VP of Sales in here to see that.
That'd be awesome. Super. What's a good day and time for you, Bob?
Let me look here. How about next Thursday around 10 Eastern?
Thursday 10. That sounds great. Thanks so much, Bob. Have a great day.
You too, Lisa. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, so we've hung up the phone. I'm still playing sales rep. Now that I've hung up the phone with Bob, I'm going to go ahead and send a follow-up email, really recapping our conversation and confirming the date for our demo. So you go to the email follow-up screen, and basically the tool has gotten all the information about Bob and put it in the email. I'm going to put a subject line. It also has all my signature information, so that's really handy. The nice thing is also that the company has actually provided a series of email templates for me. These email templates can be about anything. They can be, as you can see, this one's based on the sales stage and the persona, so it's very specific. It could be based on a product set or a certain product feature, or could be based on anything that the company wants. It could be, after qualification, after discovery, after each stage of the sales process, if you have that. We're just going to go ahead and click that. A couple things. One is the tool put in Bob's name for me. It also put in his company name, so I don't even have to do that stuff. It's got all the kind of information. I can go ahead and just add to it, change it. I'm going to say thanks again, Bob. Look forward, if I could spell, look forward to speaking next Thursday at 10 a.m. There we go. Got the signature, and I'm ready to send it. When I go ahead and send this, a couple things you need to make a note of. One is SalesTalk, the tool, will send me as a sales rep a copy of this email in my Outlook or Gmail, whatever I use, so that I can keep track of everything. The tool will send me an alert when Bob, as the prospect, opens email. The tool will also send me an alert when Bob clicks on the email, on any of the links in the email. And it will also be recorded in the story so far. So if I, for some reason, don't see my alerts, I can always go to the story so far. It'll show me when it was delivered. It'll show me when he opened, and it'll show me when he clicked on it. So that's a really convenient thing. All right. So that's the end of our role play as far as our mock sales call. So let's go ahead and we'll bring up the slides again, and we'll just summarize what we did. Okay. First, we reviewed that story so far as prep for our meeting. That has all the digital behavior, and it really gauges Bob's interest, what pages he went to, what links he clicked. It also reminds me as a sales rep where I might be in my sales process, because it has the conversational behaviors. And I didn't have to do it. The system is automatically tracking that for me, and, by the way, it's updating my CRM system. So I didn't even have to do that. We started with discovery and used our questions to drive the prospect and value as best we could. That's what we extracted from the value inventory, remember. The form that was in SalesTalk helps me easily capture the information, and it's always there online. It's always associated to Bob and to that particular opportunity, so I always have that information in front of me, and I'll use that for like building my business case and other things. We also had our value prop per persona. We were made sure that, I don't know if you saw, when I dropped down and I went under value proposition, it had value proposition COO, it had value proposition VP of services. So as a sales rep, I could make sure I was delivering the right message to that right person at the right time, because they were split out for me very specifically. And when Bob brought up the VP of sales objection about attrition, we were able to, quickly overcome that. Because again, from the value inventory, if you remember, Michael had that line that he, basically he called out saying, hey, VP of sales has got this issue, and we rank on number 3 on the competitive priority. That means we don't do so well. So we were prepared to have the objection and the objection handling right at the fingertips. So as a sales rep, I didn't have to fumble around and try to figure out and come up with my own ideas. And then finally, we did a nice follow-up email. Again, I didn't, as a sales rep, have to go looking for anything. I didn't have to go copy and paste. I didn't have to make up stuff. My company basically provided me with the best content, best practice content in those templates already. So that's what the sales call was all about. Okay, so we wanted to, at the conclusion here, we're just at the end, wanted to just, put some more stats out there to say this is a big problem, and because we've had so much interest in this webinar, I guess you guys already know that. First, there's another quote or a stat from Serious Decisions about our prospects, the executives who are our prospects, basically saying that they're not finding they're getting enough value out of us spending time with them. So that's not a good thing. And then Sales and Marketing Monthly saying the same thing, that 70% of us sales and marketing executives are saying this is a huge a threat to our ability to grow as companies. And I read something that I really liked, I think, and then Mike, I'm going to ask you to kind of jump in as well. The keys, and I found is, one, being able to extract enough pain and quantifying that pain. So the better your value inventory, you can really get some great discovery questions, and the more you can quantify that, the more you're extracting the pain. And then the better you can provide the vision for your solution and provide the greatest gain, that divide between, the pain and the gain basically is the value.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Lisa. I completely agree. On the first stat from Serious Decisions, the 10% of executives said the sales call doesn't provide enough value to warrant their time. That leads right to our coding structure. You know, if it's a 1-1, you already know that it's of a high importance to the prospect, and the second one means that you deliver a better solution than anyone else. So that one in particular, it plays perfectly into creating a value inventory and coding it properly. The second stat, where it's the biggest threat, again, I think that it's important to understand your value from the executives on down by articulating your value message as it was designed by the organization. And again, I'll go right back to a value inventory where you create that content and you create that value inventory. So I completely agree with both of these, and our discussions have really led to the same conclusions.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we just want to thank everyone for participating. We enjoyed it. You have websites listed there as well as email addresses. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. And anything you want to add, Michael? Or?
Thank you so much. Hope we can talk sometime. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.